What if, in order to pay for the costs of health care, chronic illness, long-term care, you're withdrawing during a down market? You can literally ravage the portfolio. Somebody has called this dollar cost ravaging. So here's the solution. If we're going to draw money out to pay for these very high, likely costs that we're going to face in retirement, let's go somewhere else where we can get greater downside protection. Hey folks, this is Colin Richards, once again talking to you on this episode of the Lord and Richard Show about topics and questions that are at the top of mind for folks getting ready to retire or who are already in retirement wanting to make sure that you've planned and prepared appropriately. And in this particular mini-series, we've been answering top questions that retirees and pre-retirees have about particularly how to prepare to have enough in retirement. And one of the questions I get a lot, Colin, is, hey, Colin, what am I going to do about healthcare? What am I going to do to make sure I have enough money and I'm not bankrupted by the high cost of healthcare? And nobody out there is arguing that healthcare costs are going down. Nobody is arguing that this is an easy problem to solve. This is a tough nut to crack. But I want you to know that we're doing this every single day for people just like you. Been doing this for many, many years, helping hundreds and hundreds of people all across Denver and now across the country. And I want you to know that there are solutions. But first, I've got to talk to you about the challenges so that you can get your head in the right framework then for how to address the solution. So first of all, I'm going to refer back to the J.P. Morgan study that was done not too long ago on retirement. And in that study, we learned that average healthcare costs at age 65 are a little bit over $500 a month. And that just keeps climbing up every single year. Now, just to give you an idea, at today's rates of inflation on healthcare, I'm not just talking about the temporary ones we're seeing, but long-term rates of inflation, that's over $1,475 a month when you get into your 90s. If you're blessed to live a long and full life, that comes with a price tag. And this is one of the biggest challenges of planning in retirement. So you got to make sure, first of all, you're working with a comprehensive planner that's going to help you prepare for those costs in advance, because they are coming. They are coming. There's no question that your costs of healthcare are going to go up throughout your lifetime. One of the big issues, though, is not just your average healthcare costs, but a special kind of healthcare costs that most of us really struggle to prepare for. And I know this weighs on the back of our minds as we work with elderly parents, those who are infirm, those who are in skilled nursing and nursing homes. And that's called long-term care, chronic illness. And that is defined as having a probability of needing assistance with 2 or more activities of daily living. Things like feeding yourself, dressing yourself, bathing yourself, and so on. That can also include cognitive impairment. And we know these things will come if we are blessed with a very long life. If we're living into our late 80s and 90s, it's very difficult to imagine a scenario where you don't have some trouble with some mobility or maybe a little bit of cognitive function. And of course, we talk in this show all the time about ways to increase your functional lifespan, not just being alive, but being up, active, and functional. But for men, that probability of needing assistance with 2 or more activities of daily living over your lifetime is 64%. And because women live a little bit longer, their likelihood is 75%. So this is too big to ignore, right? The average cost of a home health aide in Colorado is $32 an hour. The average cost of skilled nursing in Colorado is now up over $116,000 a year. Typically, home health care is going to cost you about half or a little bit more than half. And the average stay tends to be between 3.5 and 4 years. So this cannot be ignored, folks. We've got to build and design this into your plan. Now, I have solutions. I have ways that you can prepare for this in advance. And I know what you're saying. Well, I don't want to buy expensive long-term care at this stage in my life. You know, I met with a couple recently who had bought it much earlier, really did a good job of preparing in advance when they were younger and more mobile, and it's still today paying a very reasonable premium on that. But once we're getting into our 60s and 70s, that cost can become prohibitive. And then the thought of, well, I'm just going to withdraw from my portfolio. Okay, I'm just going to withdraw from my portfolio. Well, think about this. What if, in order to pay for the costs of health care, chronic illness, long-term care, you're withdrawing during a down market? You can literally ravage the portfolio. Somebody has called this dollar cost ravaging. So here's the solution. If we're going to draw money out to pay for these very high likely costs that we're going to face in retirement, let's go somewhere else where we can get greater downside protection. How about non-correlated asset classes? Asset classes that won't go down when the S&P 500 goes down. Defensive option strategies can be implemented to try to prepare yourself in advance to smooth out your portfolio so that that portion of your portfolio that is used to pay for healthcare costs is not as volatile. And remember, we really want to avoid as much as possible pulling from qualified accounts like IRAs and 401ks because you're getting taxed on the way out as well. And then, of course, there are other non-correlated assets like annuities that have downside protection and potential guarantees that increase your income if you're in a healthcare situation. But most of these are not comprehensive solutions, okay? These are just additional options to help protect and prepare, but they're not comprehensive. And in our next segment, I'm going to be getting into what comprehensive long-term care protection looks like and how you can perhaps make that an affordable part of your planning. Let's talk a little bit about those of you who think that you're going to cover this out of a typical portfolio, because some of you may be able to do it. And we'll run an analysis looking backwards, looking forwards, that will help you determine, hey, am I actually in a position where I'm literally self-insured? I could pay for this. Just remember, if you're trying to pay for it out of traditional portfolios, let's take the 60-40 stock bond portfolio, or 40-60 if you're being conservative, flip it around. Let's say that you're going to take 7.2% out. JP Morgan did this study for us. Well, you'll just do fine with 5.2% withdrawn. However, an actual historic portfolio averaging 9.5% would run out of money a decade earlier than the 7.2% portfolio because of withdrawals in down markets. You see, there isn't an easy solution when we're talking about pulling money out of your traditional investments, your traditional approach to things, and dealing with these high costs of healthcare. And so in our next segment, I want you to stay tuned, or if you're watching on YouTube, watch the next segment. And I want to talk about some real solutions that you can implement to provide peace of mind, especially in your later years of retirement. Because folks, that's what it's about. That's what we're doing every single day to help folks just like you address the concerns that you have, the things that might make you stay up at night. Sat down with a wonderful gentleman just yesterday, and he rattled off his concerns, and we were able to look at his plan and say, oh, you're good. If somebody is chronically ill, you're good. If somebody passes away early, you're good. We actually tested high inflation. You're good. That's great feeling to have a team of experts back you up and give you that peace of mind. That's what we would love to do for you. It is our joy, our delight. It simply starts with a phone call.